Straight Talk Nepal on the boil. Why support for Hindu monarchy is growing. Since the abolition of the monarchy, Nepal has seen 13 governments, all in a matter of 17 years. Today, the people of Nepal are disillusioned and longing for a time when their country had an identity and a stable leader at the helm of. Read more. In 2008, the communists overthrew Nepal's Hindu monarchy. It was quite a violent movement, in which over 16,000 people were killed. The claim was that the removal of the Hindu monarchy would help Nepal take the great leap forward. The idea of a secular constitutional republic was packaged as an antidote for all of Nepal's problems. How has that plan played out? Nepal, since the fall of the monarchy, has known nothing but chaos and political instability. Consider this: since the abolition of the monarchy, Nepal has seen 13 governments, all in a matter of 17 years. Today, the people of Nepal are disillusioned and longing for a time when their country had an identity and a stable leader at the helm of affairs. Pro-monarchy sentiment has been on the rise in the Himalayan kingdom for years now. The communists of Nepal believe violence and arson is a one-way street. This is to say that any violence undertaken under the guise of a revolution and at the behest of China is normal, but if pro-monarchy demonstrators resort to the same tactics, that qualifies as nothing less than terrorism. This cleave in the mindset of Nepal's ruling class and common public is now fueling unrest not seen in the country since the fall of the monarchy. To top it all, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is learned to have blamed India for the unrest, saying he would expose New Delhi's designs in parliament. What good would that do, other than further alienating Nepal's population from its ruling class? After all, when lakhs of people take to the streets chanting slogans like Raja Aau come back and save the country, O King, it becomes a tad bit difficult for any regime to claim that the protests are misguided. The month of March has been hectic for Nepal. Over the past few weeks, Nepalese communists have seen not just traditional monarchists, but also the youth take to the streets in a remarkable outpouring of anger. This is what makes the ongoing demonstrations different. Nepalese from all walks of life are now rallying behind the idea of the monarchy being reinstated. For the ordinary citizens of Nepal, development remains elusive. Chinese interference in the country's affairs has been steadily rising. Employment remains scant, and the youth are forced to leave the country in droves to secure a job. Corruption is rampant, and the country's top leaders are perhaps the most ideologically fluid in the world. Besides, all of Nepal's recent prime ministers, including KP Oli, Sher Kumar Dubba and Prachanda, face grave corruption charges. Prime ministers change seasonally and governments realign to serve the political interests of a few leaders, making Nepal's democratic experiment an eyewash. Nepal's two biggest political parties have united to form a grand coalition, effectively leaving the country without a strong opposition. Nepal's polity is in tatters, so much so that the people are willing to overlook former King Gyanendra's many excesses, including curtailing press freedom and imprisoning political rivals. One could argue that since much of Nepal's revolution was inspired by Chinese involvement, taking such extreme steps was necessary. However, the larger point is this: Nepal's problems are now so intense that the people genuinely feel the only way forward is to get the communists out and the Hindu monarchy back in. And the future of Nepal must be decided by its people alone. Reinstating the Hindu monarchy will not be an easy task, much less a peaceful one. As far as the communists are concerned, they are in no mood to engage with the pro-monarchy demonstrators. From day one, it has been clear that KP Sharma Oli's government has resorted to a confrontational stance, from threatening to arrest King Gyanendra to cutting down his security cover. The use of excessive force against protesters on March 29 has further antagonized the public against their rulers. Moreover, China has emerged as a big player in the Himalayan kingdom since 2010. News 18 recently reported how vested political interests in Nepal have created an anti-India atmosphere. Top Indian intelligence sources told CNN News 18's Manoj Gupta that Nepalese politicians have aligned with China against India for financial gain. Intelligence sources say, Beijing is now implementing a Minustwo strategy to replace current leaders with China-friendly figures like ex-President Bidya Bhandari and former Maoist commander Nanda Pun. Nepal's communist government is appeasing China by suppressing Tibetan activism and even denying its own border disputes with China. Beijing has sent over 900 Mandarin teachers to Nepal, while also sponsoring various cultural initiatives aimed at normalizing Chinese soft power and reducing Indian cultural influence. Over the years, Nepal's communist leadership has actively pursued an anti-India stance, often at China's behest. This has included territorial disputes, diplomatic provocations, and deliberate efforts to erode the centuries-old cultural ties between the two countries. In 2020, Nepal unilaterally published a new political map that included Indian territories such as Kalapani, Limpi Yadhura, and Lipulekh, all of which are regions historically and legally recognized as part of India. This cartographic aggression was not just an attempt to stoke anti-India sentiment but also a calculated move to align with Beijing's regional strategy. The Nepalese parliament swiftly endorsed the new map, straining ties with New Delhi. Moreover, despite Nepal's growing debt burden and IMF warnings, Kathmandu is rushing to implement BRI projects. Nepal's government has also turned a blind eye to China's border encroachments. While Nepalese leaders have been quick to challenge India over minor disputes, they have remained silent about Chinese land grabs in the northern regions. Despite the blatant pandering to Chinese interests, India has maintained close ties with Nepal. People-to-people linkages remain strong, and India understands that the future of Nepal must be decided by its people alone so that no external power has a veto over the country in the long term. Yet, it would not be an overstatement to suggest that a Hindu monarchy will be much more receptive to Indian concerns and work to cut down growing Chinese involvement in the Himalayan nation's affairs. Nan.